and welcome to REVIT Beginner Program. Today in this episode, we are going to talk all about site components, how to position them, what's the difference between a regular component and a site component, and how to create a custom family of a site component for your project. So let's begin. I'm going to start this tutorial from this point onwards. I already have a topo surface that I'm going to use. Now this topo surface was created by importing a CAD file and converting that CAD file into a REVIT topo surface. If you haven't watched that video out, I really recommend that you do. I have given you the link in the description box. So here we are. We have a topo surface. Now I would like to add a few trees, a few people, or a few trucks, construction trucks to identify how is going to be my logistics on my site. So how do we add components to our topo surfaces? Let's go ahead in the site plan. And in the masking inside, there's a tool called site component. This site component has a couple of already existing families in your project. If you don't have them, you can always go ahead and load family, and either you can find people in the entourage, trees under planting, or under site category. You can also find a few accessories or logistics. For example, if I want to add a construction truck, I can load this family into it. Let's go ahead under masking inside. Under site components, I have my concrete truck here. Now, the interesting thing about the site components is that they automatically identify the topo surface as their host. So if I place my construction truck over on this contour or over in this contour, now let's label these contours and identify which elevation they are on. So this one is at 28 meters, while this one is at 17 meters. And I'm going to place both of these trucks in the site plan. Now, if I go into my 3D view, you'll see that they have automatically identified these elevations and are positioned at their elevations. So if I select one of my trucks here, you will see that the host in this property is already surface. So it automatically identifies the topo surface as its host. So if I go back to my site plan and let's go ahead into site components, and I'm going to try to add a few trees over here. Let's take the American beach, and I'm going to add trees at different contours, at different elevations. And I'm not going to make any additional effort to find the elevation of these trees. I'm going to simply just place them at different positions in my site plan. Now, if I go into my 3D view, you'll see that these trees have been added at different elevations by itself. So there's no additional effort of identifying what elevation those components must go to. Let me show you an example project where I've added a couple of these site components. I'm going to go and open up my project. Now this is quite a huge site and it's at the master planning level. And here you can see that in this site, I have a couple of different buildings. The pathways have been created using the sub-region tool. And there are also a few site components. These trees, these shrubs here. If you can here see that there are custom lighting fixtures created as a site component. You also have a signboard which is customized for this project. It is under the site category. Any category of component whose host is a topo surface is called a site component. So for example, if you'd like to create your own site component, how do you do this? So to create your own custom site component, I will go into the file, new, family. Now choose the site.rft template. This ensures that my family sits through the right category. So it's the site category. If you don't have the site category template, you can open a generic model and change its family category to the site. Now there's one important parameter here that you really need to take care of. That one is the always vertical. Now there are components that are always vertical, like trees. Even if the topo surface changes from one contour to the other, the trees are always going to be straight, even though they are at separate elevations. But if you switch this always vertical option off, the components are going to be perpendicular to your topo surface. Let's see this as a practical example. This first test, I'm going to keep the always vertical parameter switched on. I'm going to say OK to this. Let's try to create a dummy site component. I'm going to create an extrusion, a very simple one, with a circle of about, let's say, 150 millimeters radius. And I'm going to finish that up. And I'm going to give a height of about 3 meters. Now I have a pole. Maybe I want to create a signboard or a lighting fixture or something else. Maybe I want to create a kind of a circular plate on top of this pole. So I'm going to go ahead and create an extrusion at the circle, maybe about 1 meter in radius. And I'm going to make sure that this work plane is set on the top of my plane instead of the bottom. I'm going to finish that up with a little thickness of about 20 millimeters. So I have a kind of pole. Maybe I can also add a few lighting fixtures here. But for now, I'm going to just keep it like this because we are just doing a test trial. And I have made sure that this belongs to the site category and it's always vertical. Let's save this family. And I'm going to create a component called funny site light. I'm going to load it into the project. And I'm going to place it in different elevations on my site. Now, if I select any of these components, you can see that it belongs to the site category and its host is a surface. And I'm going to go into the 3D view to see how it appears. Now I'm going to go back, edit family, and I'm going to change this always vertical option off. I'm going to load it back into the project and override. You'll see how it changed from always vertical to the perpendicular to the topo surface. So if you have a component that needs to be aligned to the topo surface that you're creating, you can keep the always vertical sign off. But if you're creating something like trees or cars, or if you have something that needs to be always vertical regardless of the shape of a topo surface, then you need to go back in your edit family and make sure that it remains always vertical. So here we are. Another trick. Now, another thing that I would like to tell you about site components is that when you're working with entourage elements or planting elements, for example, let's go ahead and add a component which is entourage element, which is a male or a female characters that you have, the RPC characters. Let's say I'm going to add Alex somewhere around here and maybe about Tina over here at a different elevation. So here we have two people situated at two different positions. Now you can always come back to this particular person that you have, edit the type, duplicate this component and call it Jack maybe, and then change its render appearance from the library. You can change this to all and you can say, okay, this looks more like Jack, and I'm going to open that up. Yeah. So now that character has changed. You can do the same thing with trees. For example, I have this particular tree that I've placed, which is an American beech at 6 meter height. Maybe you want a bigger tree or a smaller tree or of a different kind. You can always go into the edit type, duplicate, and you can call it, let's say this is not an American beech, but it's something else with 3 meters height. So the first thing I want to change is its height as 3 meters. And then I want to change its render appearance over here. And I would say that I like something like this here, red cedar. I'm going to open that up. So this element is going to be 3 meters height and it's of that render appearance. These RPC families, like trees or like people, they look quite different when you're in a shaded mode, for example. However, try to go into the realistic or rendered mode, you will be able to see them, how they appear in the render appearance. Hope learning about site components and working with topography in the last couple of episodes was interesting for you. In the next episode, we are going to talk about massing. Now, massing can mean different things to different people. Architects who are working at conceptual level love massing when they're working with different kinds of geometrical forms. Master planners love to use massing while developing their neighborhood buildings or analyzing zoning compliances both visually or numerically. Some designers like to use massing to develop neighborhood buildings around the building that they're designing. So there are many different ways you can use massing in your project work. We're going to learn all about that in the next episode. So please make sure to subscribe. Stay tuned. I'll see you in the next one.